Looking for clarity and confidence when it comes to decision making for your business? You've come to the right place. You're now listening to the Atomic Business Coaching Podcast.
What up, Tom?
What's up, man?
You know, Monday, doing the same thing over and over again, here with you, recording a podcast, having more conversations about people that have problems, and it's endless. Like, it's 2024. We're in September of 2024. I don't know when this comes out. And it's like, you know, we've been talking about the fourth quarter, get ready for that. And it's really funny how when I have conversations, they have these like delusions of grandeur. Like, I'm going to do this crazy shit. And they just, like most people I'm talking to, they're missing the basic stuff. Like just very, very basics to build a business. I don't mean their website. And it's just like normal things to have a business, like a client.
Right.
Like these
or
little things.
A product to sell.
Oh, look at that. My little, I don't know if you're watching, this little guy almost fell off the desk. Look at that. Oh, where is it?
Where did you see that? What is that?
It's a little bobblehead. What is these? Funko Pop. My sister-in-law bought it for me.
Atomic Coach? It says it.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, man.
Little bobblehead. It's supposed to be me.
That is pretty cool, man.
Yeah. Sorry. So it's just like, my gosh, it's basics, very, very, very basic things. And I'm curious, I'm wondering now how many people, I think because I take it for granted for so long. I've been in business for so long. I've dealt with such powerful businesses, Fortune 100 companies, mom and pops that are killing it. And I'm like, all right, they just have their shit together. And now this whole, I don't want to call it a generation, but this whole cohort of businesses that have come out of the pandemic that, you know, maybe they have a product that they sell, or maybe they don't know basic stuff like sales, like, you know, how to go network, how to prospect. It's blowing my mind that they're usually experts at something.
Right.
But it's all this other stuff that it takes to run a business they don't have, but they're running a business. Like, why aren't they an employee? Why don't they just take that skill set and go to work, you know? And then they don't want to do the things that's necessary for like business 101. Like running your books.
Yeah. I mean, listen, there is a lot of people out there that are learning how to do the basic fundamentals of running a business because they are employees and they were employees and now they started their own businesses. I mean, COVID, we saw the biggest uptick in the number of small business applications because it was an environment that was allowing for that to come about. But a lot of times people go into things and they don't have the basic fundamentals of what they need to do the thing, right? You wouldn't go onto a baseball field if you didn't know how to throw and catch a ball and swing a bat.
But that's kind of my point. It's like, so I'll use baseball as the analogy.
Yeah.
They're on the field, the umpire shows up, they say play ball, and they're like, what am I supposed to do now? Like, you have to walk up to the plate and, all right, well, how do I hold the bat? And I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Well, I know what baseball is, and, you know, I have these cleats, but I don't know anything else. And it's like, wait a minute, what are you here to do? I'm here to use my cleats.
Yeah.
Well, hey, pal, this is a baseball game. Are you ready to play baseball, or are you just strapped up to run?
Right.
Like, what game are you playing? And I don't know if that analogy hits home, but it's like, that is exactly what it means is they haven't practiced throwing, they haven't practiced swinging, they don't know the rules of baseball, they're running a third base when they should be running a first. It's like, holy moly, you literally have to go back to the basics.
Yep. No, it's very true. And that's really, I mean, it is mind-blowing, especially when we see people in our community and they're brand new business owners. They don't get it. They don't understand. And it's like starting all over, right? It's starting from scratch. Let's go back to the basics. This is what happens when you get to a field. This is what you need to do. This is what a dugout is. This is what the field looks like. There's 4 bases. Explain everything. And we basically walk people through every step of the way lately, you know, and it's like, okay, yeah, like everybody's worried about, I got to do my website and I got to go get pamphlets and I got to go do flyers, and the prerogatives are all wrong. It's let's just go start. What's your product? What's your service? What are you selling? And if you don't know what that is, then you can't go do anything. You have to know that first.
Well, I'll commend the people that are in our community. And those of you who don't know, Tom and I have a group. You know, we do our one-on-one coaching, but we established a group coaching, which is called Project 2740. And if you go to our website, atomicbusinesscoaching.com, there's a tab that says Project 2740. It tells you all about it. It's really amazing. But those people, at least I'll commend that they committed to starting over. They're like, all right, I'm going to start from scratch. So they're doing it. But where I'm noticing it more is like people are reaching out to me for help, and they'll reach out to me in DMs or set up an appointment or anything else. And they want so much. They have these great desires and these amazing aspirations, but they're just kind of delusional about what it takes there. And when I start explaining the things, they're looking for the shortcut, and they don't know the fundamental part that needs to be learned or delegated or whatever it may be. They don't know it. And then when they make, at least a little bit of an agreement, like, okay, I need that, they're not willing to put the money behind it. They're not willing to put work behind it. They're not looking to learn the skill set. And that's what's alienating me from this cohort of people, is that it's just like, well, wait a minute. It's that old cliche, you want to have your cake and eat it too. Mm-hmm. But it's not even that. It's worse than that. It's that now you know exactly what it takes, but you're not willing to give anything to it. You're not willing to give money or time or energy or effort or any of these things to it. But then you're steadfast on, but I'm going to build this amazing business. And some of them have a great idea, or they have a really incredible skill set, but that's what an employee is. You don't have to do all the other stuff. So where do you think, why is this a delusion for people that they think they can run a business without being a business owner?
Because I think it is exactly that. It can sometimes be a delusion, because if you don't, it's almost like you've seen it, right? You've seen people play baseball and you look at it and you go, oh, that looks easy. Oh, I could do that. And then you start to do it and you realize, oh my God, I didn't realize it was all of this strategy and all of this knowledge and all this information that I had to process all at the same time. And I think we get overwhelmed with or we think it's easier than what it really looks, right? And that's just a human flaw. We always tend to say, oh, I could do that. I can make that happen.
I agree with you, but because we all do that, right?
Right.
But then when we do the work and we're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing, then we're like, okay, you kind of accept, okay, I have to learn something, I have to practice something, I have to do that. That's the part that's confusing me.
Yep.
It is, yes. Of course, you're going to think it's easier, and then you're like, it's really not.
Right.
But these people, okay, they're not willing to do any of it. They're like, it's not easy, I'm not going to do it, I'm just going to manifest it or whatever else. Or that's the confusing part about this, is they all of a sudden think they acquire all this knowledge and this asset just because they said they're a business owner.
Right. And, we always talk about the difference between making a job for yourself versus being a business owner. It's two very different things. And most people make a job for themselves and they think they can do this job, but they don't realize that there's a lot of responsibility, a lot of things that come with trying to employ yourself, right? You have to go and sell, and you have to, when I started my business, I didn't realize how much of a salesperson I had to be. Mm-hmm. And I didn't think that, oh my God, that was going to be the thing I had to do. And networking was not, I would network and do things as an employee, but it's not at the same level when you network as a business owner. Networking is such a critical foundation of how you build a business. And a lot of people don't recognize that either. And you need these are all new skills that you need to develop. And the problem is, and where most people get very confused, is what do I do first?
Right.
What is the first thing to do? Because I know for myself, I wasn't sure what to do first, but I knew one thing, and it worked out, was go and get clients.
Yeah. I mean, that's really it. That's always the first thing.
Right.
Some people in business, they spend years building their products and their services and they never get a client.
Right.
Right. And luckily those people either have funding or they have support in another way and they don't need to make money.
Right.
Maybe that's the reason. Maybe all these people I'm speaking to they have such a great safety net. They're never pushed into a corner. Their back isn't against the wall where it's now, I must do this thing. Correct. Right. I have to actually do it. I don't have another choice.
Right. That sense of urgency needs to be there. Right. I see this, and I think we've all seen this when people have another revenue stream or they have something else coming in to support them. that sense of urgency of being backed up against the wall doesn't exist for them. And it's much slower for them to develop and do the things that they want to do. And they also just take their time overthinking and rethinking and overthinking and rethinking exactly what they're trying to sell and what they want to put out there and what they want to make money doing.
Yeah, I heard something great recently, and I'm going to use it a lot. So if you hear me say this over and over again, folks, sorry, but once I adopt something, it usually doesn't go away. People who are overthinkers are just underdoers. The thing is, think of anything when you're doing it, right? Like someone was talking about archery. I heard another person, I mean, I'm a golfer. Your son's a baseball player, right? Like when you're doing an athletic thing, when you're doing it, you're not thinking about it. You're just doing the thing. Because if you start thinking about it, you lose all the focus. And you can't do it. And what I've noticed is a lot of times with our clients specifically, when I task them with doing something, they don't think about it. They just do it, right? It's just getting done now. And you don't have time to overthink it. And what happens is most people are overthinking, okay, what do I do next? How do I do? And they plan it out and they chart it. And like, okay, here's what we'll do. And if we do this, that will happen. But if that happens, then this will happen. They just keep overthinking and overthinking. Where if they just did whatever the first thing that came to their mind was, well, I think I should maybe go see if there's clients out there in the world for me. If they just did that, it would answer so many more questions that they wouldn't have to think about. They would just get the proof of here's the answer.
Right.
But that's the problem is, again, that I'm seeing is they don't want to do. They don't want to invest to have someone else do it for them. It's very, very strange. And I am baffled by how these people are surviving in life. Like, what are they doing? How do they eat food? How do they put shelter? How do they clothe themselves? Like, there must be, I think I've come to the conclusion through talking this out with you. There must be a very comfortable support system around them that it's an interest to them and it's not a commitment. And that, we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
That if you're interested, you do it when it's convenient. You do it when you feel like it. And when you're committed to something, you do it no matter what. And usually because you must do it.
Right.
And now, luckily, some of our clients are in a position where they get to do things. They don't have to do things. But even when they get to do them, they commit to them.
Correct.
So I think I'm answering my own question here. Is there's a massive support system and they're just interested in this success or this freedom or whatever else they've dreamt up in their mind to give the delusion that I'm a rock star.
Right. We often see on the flip side too, like when you think about it, as people do things more and they've been successful at doing, they start to become clever and they start to overthink because they're trying to be clever, right? Like I look at baseball, for example, like the other day my son struck out and I said, what happened on the strikeout? And he said, well, I was anticipating a fastball and he threw me a curveball. And I said, well, you're overthinking it now and you didn't get a hit because you're trying to be clever. You're trying to be analytical about it. And right. I said, keep it simple. See ball, hit ball. That's it. And I think that's what happens on the flip side a lot is we start to overthink the things because we have more knowledge and wisdom about what we're doing. And we try to be clever and we forget to just keep it simple. And especially if your business, like if it struggles, if you're going through tough periods, you got to kind of ask yourself, am I seeing ball and hitting ball or am I anticipating the fastball and he's throwing me a curveball? Like if you don't go back to the basics and keep it simple, that's where you start to really screw up.
I have a good story for this. So, really related to the overthinking and underdoing type thing and what the consequences are is that I was in my early 20s. I was a waiter for like 2 weeks. I didn't like it, obviously, but I was a waiter for like 2 weeks. And I remember the first time I came out to serve something, it was horrific. All right. So I'm working at this commissary restaurant, big chain restaurant, and order goes in. I place the order. I go into the kitchen. I pick it all up. And it's got like chicken fingers and, French fries and all the sauces, the ranches and the ketchups and all this stuff. And I'm like rushing around everywhere. And I put it on the tray and I'm carrying it out. And I'm walking to the table. And I'm going fast to get around people, make sure I don't bomb it. I'm so excited. I'm going to bring out my first meal to these people. and I am not embellishing at all. I get to the table, and the French fries and the ramekins that are on this ceramic plate, as I stop, they don't. There's this thing called momentum and inertia, and the sauces come flying off this thing onto the man sitting in the wheelchair at the end of the table, all over him, all over his wheelchair. And now I have to grab napkins, and I am sweating bullets because I'm like, all right, I messed it up, but now I got his wheel. I am cleaning the rims of this guy's wheelchair, profusely apologizing. The management staff comes over like, I've never seen this. What is going on right now? What did you do, Adam? Like, I don't know. I did the sauces and I'm so sorry, sir. And like, I'll clean your rib. Can I get something to clean? And I'm freaking the fuck out.
Right.
Later that day, I'm walking with martinis. And martinis are not cheap. Even back then, in the late 90s, early 2000s, martinis were not cheap. And I got these, $15 martinis at that time on the tray. And there's 3 of them, and I have to balance them perfectly. And if you've ever gotten a martini, they fill them to the brim.
Oh, yeah. To the rim.
Okay. So I am sitting there with this martini, and I am staring at them, making sure I don't. And I'm walking, and it's just sloshing all over the place. I get to the table, it's like half a martini, and they're like, hey, pal, there's more martini on your tray than in my drink. Can we get another one? And, the manager's like, hey, fine. And he pulls me aside. He's like, listen, I was a waiter for a long time before I was a manager. He's like, how long have you been a waiter, kid? I'm like, today's my first day. He's like, no. But before today, how long have you been a waiter? And I'm like, no. Today's my first day ever. And he's like, oh. He's like, have you ever carried a tray? I'm like, no. He's like, all right, here's the number. And here's the whole point of my story.
Right.
He's like, the number one rule of carrying martinis is never look at the martini. Now, I have done this to this day. I can fly down my steps to my office with a full cup of coffee. I won't spill a drop. Because here's why. Your body already knows how to keep that thing perfectly balanced without spilling it. But as your attention goes to thinking about, oh, I don't want to spill this. Guess what? You're going to spill it. You're going to throw your bodies because your body can't focus on keeping that balance. Right. Mm-hmm. So now you're trying to keep it, but you're not doing it. And you mess the whole thing up when if you just did the thing and walked, that martini would not have spilled. And I didn't. After that, I never spilled another one. Even to this day, like I said, I can walk around with things. And I would challenge any of you who debate me on this, go fill a glass of water in your house up to the brim. Okay? Maybe leave a millimeter there. But fill it up and walk down your hall staring at it and watch it slosh. Then go fill it back up again because you would have lost some on the floor. And walk down the hall and just look at where you're walking and you won't spill any. This is exactly what it is in business. If you're overthinking the thing, you're going to spill all the vodka all over the place. There's going to be half a martini left. And then you're going to have to clean up your mess. Stop overthinking and start doing more things. Now, I don't know if that solves my debate of what I was asking here today because my confusion, but I did come to a conclusion, I think, Thomas.
Yeah.
There must be, we're going to test this out, folks. And if you know of any of this or you have ideas, hit us up on LinkedIn. You can find me under Adam Thomas, and you can find Tom at Tom Marino. Send us a DM, send us a comment, whatever it is. Let us know what you think the real issue here is, because I think now, I'm going to go test it out. I think it's they have a massive amount of support, and then they're just interested in success and freedom. They're not committed to it. That's where I'm coming from. So
yeah, I totally agree with that, man. Totally agree. It's
all right, brother. So this was I didn't know where our topic was going to go today, but that was fun.
But that was fun. It was a good story. I really like that story.
Man,
but
poor guy in the wheelchair.
A poor guy. But it's the same thing. Just to not to beat a dead horse here, but like it's the same way when we think about like the fears and thinking about how fears, and if you keep thinking about that fear and you don't take that fear as advice, and the fear happens. It's the same concept, right? The way we think is really determining what happens. And if you keep it simple, you're going to be successful. If you don't and you make it more complex, it's going to be really challenging for you. And you're going to create more of the problems that you really didn't need to have in the first place.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. See ya.